In chess, where intellectual battles unfold on the checkered battlefield, certain individuals stand out for their unrivaled brilliance and strategic thinking. Among them, Hikaru Nakamura shines as a modern-day genius, captivating both experts and newcomers with his extraordinary chess skills and innovative approach to the game. With a trail of remarkable victories behind him, Nakamura has solidified his position as one of the most influential figures in contemporary chess. What sets Nakamura apart from his peers is his creative and unorthodox style of play. While many chess players adhere to traditional strategies and well-established opening moves, Nakamura fearlessly pushes the boundaries of the game, employing unique and unexpected maneuvers. His unconventional approach often catches opponents off guard, forcing them to confront unfamiliar positions in uncharted territory, where Nakamura thrives. Nakamura's ability to calculate complex variations swiftly and accurately is nothing short of awe-inspiring. Time and again, Nakamura has demonstrated his ability to outmaneuver opponents and exploit even the tiniest weaknesses in their positions. A testament to Nakamura's brilliance lies in his extraordinary list of accomplishments. He has triumphed in numerous prestigious tournaments, capturing titles such as the US Chess Championship and the Tata Steel Chess Tournament. Nakamura has also represented the United States in the Chess Olympiad, contributing significantly to his country's success. In today's video, we will investigate the captivating world of Hikaru Nakamura's brilliant chess wins, celebrating his achievements and exploring the secrets behind his success. In the first game, Hikaru Nakamura plays white against Magnus Carlsen in the finals of the Speed Chess Championship. With a 1-point lead in the 5-minute Blitz playoff, Nakamura opens with pawn to d4 in the 5th round. Magnus responds with knight to f6, and after a few moves, both players complete their normal developments. Nakamura develops his pawn to c4, g3, and knight to f3, while Magnus develops his pawn to b6 and bishop to b7. At this juncture, Magnus plays a shocking move by playing his pawn to e5. Nakamura can be seen visibly surprised to see this move, wondering whether it is some sort of gambit or a mouse slip, while Magnus seems completely shattered with his looks. After a quick assessment for potential danger, Nakamura captures the e5 pawn with his d4 pawn, and Magnus plays his knight to g4, aiming to capture the e5 pawn with his knight as a bishop on b7 pins the f3 knight in the long diagonal. Now Nakamura has two choices: defending the e5 pawn, or leaving it and concentrating on developing his pieces. Nakamura decides to go for the latter option. After Magnus reclaims the e5 pawn a little later, Nakamura seems to have decent control over the center of the board with his pawn on c4. After the trade of dark square bishops and both players castling kingside, Nakamura appears to have a slightly better position with some space advantage. However, even Magnus seems to be very comfortable with no real weaknesses. In the next couple of moves, Nakamura decides to break into Magnus' side with his pawn to c5. Magnus cannot take the c5 pawn with his d6 pawn, as he would lose his rook after the trades on the d8 square. Now, out of nowhere, Nakamura has a slight chance to break through, as Magnus overlooked the c5 move. After the pawn trades on c5, Nakamura's rook comes to c5. Magnus cannot take the rook, as that would leave him with a much worse position after the trades on d8, considering his queenside pieces have not developed yet. After maneuvering his rook to c4 and queen to c2, Nakamura attacks a c7 and a4 pawn simultaneously, and Magnus defends the a4 pawn by playing his pawn to a3. Now, with a slew of different options like taking on the c7 pawn, moving the knight to g5, or taking the a3 pawn, Nakamura carefully analyzes these variations and plays knight to g5. If Magnus takes the g2 bishop, he would lose to the queen to h7 move. If he takes the g5 knight, Nakamura can take the b7 bishop. Magnus picks the g5 knight, and Nakamura takes the b7 bishop and then the c7 pawn after the black rook moves to b8. Now Nakamura can take the d7 knight with his rook, but Magnus can play queen to b5 and perform a queen fork. In this context, Nakamura picks the b2 pawn and the d6 pawn in the next couple of moves, leaving himself in a dangerous pin on the b-file. If he can successfully defend that pin, Nakamura can comfortably win this game against Magnus Carlsen. Magnus is looking for different counterplays here. If he cannot find anything worthy, he will not get a chance to make a comeback in this game, as he is already 2 pawns down. With very little time on the clock, Magnus tries different variations to complicate the game, but Nakamura plays all the correct moves with his remaining time. After the trade of one of the rooks, Nakamura starts to roll his a-pawn towards the other end of the board. Meanwhile, Magnus Carlsen decides to resign the game, as he literally has no play and no time on the clock to make a comeback. In the next game, Nakamura plays black against Anon in the Blitz format. Anon opens with pawn to d4, and Nakamura responds with pawn to d5. In the next moves, the game turns into a Queen's Gambit decline variation, with white developing its bishop on f4, knights on c3 and f3, while black develops the knight to f6 and d7 with the bishop on e7. After Nakamura moves his knight to h5 to trade the f4 bishop, Anon declines that by playing his bishop to e5. This allows Anon to launch an attack on the king's side, moving his pawn to g4 and rook to g1. After the trade of a couple minor pieces, Anon proceeds with his kingside attack by playing pawn to f4, while Nakamura starts to break into the queenside. At this juncture, the game seems to be balanced, with both players trying hard to gain an initiative. After the pawns get traded on the queenside, Nakamura seizes the first initiative by pinning the c3 knight with his queen on b4. After Anon supports the knight with his rook, Nakamura plays rook to a3 to add additional pressure on the c3 knight. Anon defends again with his queen to d2. With Anon yet to initiate an attack on the king's side, it is advantage Nakamura as he only needs to coordinate his pieces to break through Anon's defenses. With bishop to d8, Nakamura starts to involve his bishop in the attack. After trading the queens, Nakamura brings back his rooks and makes a crucial pawn sacrifice on e5, which eventually opens options for the bishop on d7 to become active and contribute to the attack with plans of bishop to f5 and e4. Under mounting pressure from Nakamura, Anon decides to sacrifice his rook for Nakamura's white-colored bishop. However, even that sacrifice is not enough for Anon to save the game, and he eventually resigns the next few moves after his c1 rook gets trapped when Nakamura plays his bishop to d2, attacking the c1 rook. In the next game, Nakamura plays as black against Giri in an Armageddon game in the Norway Chess 2023. Even a draw for Nakamura would be enough for him to advance, as this is an Armageddon game. The game reaches a crucial juncture where Nakamura has 2 rooks and 3 pawns, while Giri has a rook, knight, and 4 pawns. The position seems likely to end in a draw, which would be enough for Nakamura, but driven by his fighting spirit, Nakamura plays for a win, and maneuvers his rooks to attack the weak white king. In the process, Nakamura trades the rook and starts picking off weak pawns. Meanwhile, Giri also attempts to pick a few pawns, but it proves useless to Giri as Nakamura successfully captures all the pawns. Giri resigns the game soon after. In the final game, Nakamura plays white against Duda in the Candidates 2022. Around the 40th move, the game has reached a situation where Nakamura was in complete control, having his passed pawn on d6 and a well-placed knight on g6. At this juncture, Nakamura played rook to b8, trading off the last rank rook, and played pawn d7, having just one white piece supporting the pawn, while 2 black pieces attacking the d7 pawn. Here, if Duda picks the d7 pawn with his rook, Nakamura can play knight to f8 and fork. If Duda plays knight to d7, Nakamura can capture the knight on d7, and after the black rook recaptures it, Nakamura can play knight to f8 to give a fork and win a piece in the process. These games showcase the brilliance of Hikaru Nakamura, his ability to find creative solutions, and his relentless pursuit of victory. Nakamura's unique style and exceptional skills have solidified his status as one of the top chess players in the world.